on this episode of Southern Fried Geekery.
That was a fucking porn noise. What the fuck was that?
You're gonna be okay, sir.
That's also a porn noise.
I need to get that out, but technically anything could be a porn noise if you listen to it.
So that's your porn noise
Inappropriately.
Now you've written a porn script.
I know, right? Anything to do with I'm sorry, sir.
I'm here to fix the plumbing.
So, Craig and I are twinking today. We're totally rocking sleeveless rainbow shirts.
You guys are really cute. I wish you would have told me.
Unintentional tweaking.
Unintentional Twinkies.
Not Twinkies.
I've got twinks going on in rainbow shirts.
Uncomfortable with the direction of
Jerry
this
making
podcast.
noises. I mean,
How about we just record our podcast?
hey, you guys want to make a podcast?
Okay, listen, just throw back in that part about me drinking milk straight out of the cow's udder and we'll be golden.
You got a Luke Skywalker moment on that one. So now you're licking udders, making porn noises, and writing porn scripts while Craig and I are unintentional Twinkies. And how are you doing today, Sean?
Color reference and monkey seats. I forgot what the color was.
Taupe.
Taupe and monkeys.
You brought it up.
I know, but I forgot because y'all are talking about rainbows and twigs.
Somebody say my line for me.
So, you guys want to record a podcast?
Yes, I do want to record a
Third
podcast.
time, can we record a podcast, please?
Well, hey, everybody out there in Radio Land. I am, as usual, Caleb Alexander McKenzie, wearing a sleeveless rainbow shirt with this guy.
I'm Craig Lance, also wearing a sleeveless rainbow shirt.
I'm Sean. I'm not in a rainbow sleeveless shirt, but a sleeveless shirt nonetheless.
And I'm Jerry, and I just came to the realization that we're all wearing goddamn tank tops.
Yep,
It's
that's a thing.
107 degrees outside.
Yeah, we live in Arkansas where it is the third layer of hell outside, not only with temperature, also politically. So this is the 26th episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, and we would like to personally thank everybody who has stuck with us this far, and for the folks that are new joining on, welcome. This is a podcast where we four knuckleheads get together every week and we chat about the stuff in comics and in geek culture that we really like. Try to have a good time. We try to keep it light and a little bit positive, even when we go on little rants.
Knuckleheads. He's bringing 90s wrestling lingo back.
Was it 90s?
No,
Who said
just go on.
I need to decide your sources,
I
sir.
don't remember the last time I heard knuckleheads. That wasn't a dad.
You don't know my life. I might have kids.
What do you
No, I don't have kids.
We're all your
I've been called
children.
daddy a
We're all
couple
your
of
children
times.
in one
You
way
know
or
you're
another, Caleb.
I'm pretty sure Jerry's going.
My wayward stepchildren. We're start this fucking show.
So there was news this week.
Welcome to the downward spiral. Anyway, so guys, if you are listening, if you've been following us for a while and you haven't checked out our Facebook page, you should do so. It's Southern Fried Geekery on Facebook. Go to our Twitter and Instagram stuff. It's at SFG Podcast. You can watch nothing on YouTube, but you can hear our voices.
We have a lovely logo.
We do have
over
a
the
lovely
show.
logo.
They can watch the logo while listening to it.
Instagram. And hey, dude, seriously, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, email us, southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. You can find all of those on our multiple social media pages. So, guys, some news happened this week.
Yeah, some really cool stuff happened.
I'm pretty excited, so I'm going to kick us off because we didn't pregame well enough to decide
Really did.
who was going to do what.
Some behind the scenes stuff. We're actually recording in an evening, and we normally record in the mornings, and I think that's thrown us off.
That's why we all sound so delirious and sunstruck.
So, Kevin Smith's comic book man got canceled.
Dude, I saw that.
Yeah, that's a thing after 7 seasons.
7 seasons, and it was a geeky show. It was clearly scripted. Those guys are not actors, but it was still fun. I still really, really like that show because you got to see toys, you got to see nerd culture, you got to see the workings of a comic book shop. For a lot of people, you got to see collectibles that I'll never get to put my hands on. And I thought, I liked it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really believe Neil Adams went into a comic book store looking for reference material of his own to draw something. But
Neil Adams isn't going no goddamn where without getting paid. So that motherfucker will charge you to take a selfie.
Right? But it was still a fun show to watch. No different than like Pawn Stars or something like that.
I mean, 90% of reality TV is fake anyway, and I think Aquaman just didn't care that it was blatantly set up. It was still fun and it was still nerdy and geeky.
Yeah.
So it may have been blatant setup moments, but you still saw some cool combo shit out of it. So it's a shame that's gone.
Those guys were pretty funny.
Oh,
That's what we need.
Absolutely.
We need somebody to go. So, Caleb, what came into the store this week?
We have to have a store first.
Oh, damn.
So, Caleb, what did you buy from the store this week?
Some comics.
Yeah! Sean's waving his hands like Kevin Smith.
He is. Actually, Sean could cosplay Kevin Smith quite well, I think.
There may have been a time where I looked like Silent Bob, almost intentionally.
I feel like Jerry is our me. Isn't that his name?
Yeah.
Mean-chin?
Because I constantly get shit on.
I think
And
you are.
you like robots?
Okay.
You like robots, too?
I don't know who I would be.
All right.
In that
So,
show.
in other news,
Craig's like, no, fuck this. We're not casting ourselves as comics.
well, because we all know that I'm the dude with the long hair.
You are the Brian Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. Yeah.
Big news in the video game front, actually, is that Halo is going to be getting its own TV series made by Showtime.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit. I
I
didn't know.
mean, well, granted, they just announced a new Halo game.
What's Halo?
Halo?
I'm joking.
Oh, I was going to say legit.
What's funny is it was believable.
It was. I mean, you suck at video games. I didn't know what you know.
I've never played it, but at least I know what it is.
I just know that the series is kind of cooled down, so I don't. And maybe this will revitalize it. I don't know. They just announced a new game at E3, but I don't know. It feels like the hype of Halo's died down, so it's kind of a weird time now to be making a show. But who knows? It could bring it all back.
I feel like it would work well as a TV show as
Oh,
opposed
absolutely.
to a movie.
Is
So-
The Rock Johnson going to be in it?
God, I hope so.
You're
He's
thinking of Doom?
Yeah, he's in everything right now.
What you said a while ago, though, you're absolutely right. I suck at video games, so I don't play a whole lot of them. But I actually did read the Halo novel series,
Oh.
where they actually it's completely the ones I read followed, I guess, the first game, or maybe were a prequel to the first game. I don't know. There was a whole lot of
I think I know what ones you're talking about. I think it was a setup before the
Were they the
first game.
series with the other Spartans and everything? The Spartan
well,
program?
no, this was it just followed Master Chief for the most part, and he was fighting the Flood. Dude, the Flood in the books is 1,000 times more just terrible, more horrendous, fear-inducing than the Flood in the games are.
Clearly, you never played the first game on Legendary difficulty against the Flood.
No.
I had to change my shorts.
I suck at video games, and
Right.
the word legendary scares me.
Hardest damn Halo players, the hardest damn difficulty against the Flood. That's fear-inducing.
Yeah, no. I like to enjoy my life.
So who knows about Morpheus?
I was just gonna bring that up. That was actually gonna be my next thing. Jared Leto has been cast to play Morbius in Sony's solo film of the same name.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I didn't know that. Number one, I did not know they were making a Morbius show. Number two, I did not know that they were even looking at Jared Leto to play this. Lots of people on the internet are dismissing this because number one, Sony. Number two, Morbius. Number three, Jared Leto played the Joker in a movie that did not meet a lot of expectations and people did not get a lot of fulfillment out of. Jared Leto was not the problem with that character. I think he acted that character to the best of his ability. It was largely a badly written character, I think. That's just my opinion on the matter, but you can't
I haven't
fault.
seen it, so
Unless we can find some information saying that Leto put his own input into the character,
Yeah.
then it's absolutely not his fault.
Yeah, I just
I know
don't.
he dived deep in, but he is a method actor.
Well, for sure, and that's a crazy character to dive deep in. But I just don't think there were a lot of things working against that movie, and I'm not trying to defend it. It was not a good movie.
I don't know.
It was bad. Suicide Squad was shit. But Jared Leto was not necessarily the problem with the role he was portraying. It was
And
poorly written.
And in a lot of bad movies, casting isn't usually the problem.
Jared Leto's been in a lot of things where he's been really good.
He really has.
And you cannot write off his acting career because of a bad choice in a movie. Whether it was a bad choice to play that character that way or if it was a bad choice to take that role, either way, you can't write off the rest of his career. The guy's done some phenomenal work. Girl Interrupted, Dallas Buyers Club. It goes on.
Mr. Nobody,
Lord of
War,
Lord of War was insane.
and that was honestly probably my last good Luke Cage movie.
He took
Or
it
not
on-
Luke Cage, Nick Cage.
Nick Cage.
He took an amazing ass whooping in Fight Club.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I forgot about that.
Blonde.
Too pretty.
I mean, and 30 Seconds to Mars is a good band. So,
Yeah, and speaking of which, Caleb might want to, but don't Google Jared Leto's package.
oh, it's nice. I've seen it.
Or do live your life. Don't let Greg boss you around.
You live your best life.
It will humble you very quickly.
You do you, boo boo.
He is a very he is both talented and beautiful and well endowed.
We finally started coming up the stairs of reviews and ratings, and then you guys spiraled us right.
I think I just decided to quit everything and try to get him to marry me. Sorry, Raj.
You got distracted on our way up through the news, and you saw the nice kitty slide going down.
I'd totally get in trouble with Jared Leto. That's a thing, man.
What other news items we got today?
The Harvey Awards are back.
Yeah, I'm really pumped about this. So,
let's talk about that.
Do you guys know what the Harvey Awards are? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just
minimal amount about it. But I've heard stuff win the award.
Yeah, so they're kind of like the Eisners. They're a little bit less, in my opinion, they're less prestigious than the Eisners. But it's
like the Golden Globes versus the Oscars.
Well, I thought the Golden Globes were the Oscars.
No.
No. What are the
You're
Oscars?
the gay
The
guy. You're
Oscars.
supposed to know award shows.
First of all, bitch. No, the Oscars are the Academy Awards, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I don't
And I wasn't about to make that comparison, actually, Craig.
I cannot be held responsible when there are gowns involved. I lose track. Anyway.
Bitch, they all got a red carpet. That's all you know.
Amen, Sonny.
So they have some new categories. I don't know what the new categories are.
I found the article, but so I've been super busy the past couple of days and haven't really got to delve in. I know that they've been gone for a little bit, and now they're coming back. And I want to say the new categories involve creative things, which is kind of cool. So they're actually maybe going to be recognizing some other people who work behind the scenes in the industry. Again, I will do a better job of diving in and looking at this. I might throw something up on the page about it, kind of talking about it, because I love these, the Hugos, the Eisners, all of them are really cool. Number one, because these guys should be recognized for their talents and their hard work. Number two, it's a great way to find stuff that you don't know about. Whenever you watch watch award shows like the Oscars, a lot of times I haven't seen any of those movies because I live in nerd world and I'm worried about genre film.
I don't watch most
I do. If it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have watched Birdman. And Birdman's arguably one of my favorite films of all time now. Love that show. So you find these new films that you really like, and if you check out things like the Harveys and the Hugos and all of that fun stuff, the Eisners, you'll find these books and these creators that are doing stuff outside of the purview of like Diamond and outside of the things that are kind of the bigger names, and they're solid stuff. I wouldn't have found out about My Favorite Thing is Monsters. Eisner nominations, man, and that book is insane.
And, all of them are named after people from,
Right.
Eisner is Will Eisner, Harvey is Harvey from Harvey Comics.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think of his first name. But,
He didn't have one.
he's Casper, Wendy, all of those.
Is that what happens whenever you don't give your child a first and middle name? They just have your last name and that's it?
Yeah.
Like that's their name?
That's how Cher happened.
Yeah.
Something like that.
When she emerged.
Yeah.
Prince.
So you know how else you can find out about cool comics you haven't read before?
How's that?
Listening to our podcast.
You sure can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about one today.
Let's do it.
Kingdom Come.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah. You've prepared us some notes on this, did you not?
I did. Yeah, I threw a few notes together, did some reading. I think we all did. So
Caleb structured a show? What?
Right?
kind of. So we all got together and, we did a trade episode not too long ago where we all took time and we went a little bit into 4 different comics that we all read. We largely enjoyed. So we thought, why not all get together and talk about one comic together as kind of a group? See what we all think about the same thing, which, look, this is not a new idea. We didn't come up with anything revolutionary. Other people do this shit. We just kind of want to play along because it's fun.
Yeah.
So we got together and we're like, hey, so what comic, what graphic novel, what thing have we all read but would love to read again that other people might know about? Maybe they don't know about it. It's a little bit older. Mark Waid and Alex Ross's Kingdom Come was one of the, I don't know if it was number 1 on the short list, but it was definitely top 3. And, luckily we all, I think, pretty much either had it or had easy access to it and revisited this thing. Oh, Jerry.
Welcome to Southern Fried Geekery, the book club edition.
Do we need a theme song for that, too? We really got
We don't even have a theme song for Lance Ranch.
we got to hire a band, man.
Yeah.
So how long has it been before we read this for this podcast? How long has it been since you guys...
Full confession, I thought I'd read this, but when I picked it up to reread it,
Really?
I remember none of it. So I apparently have never read it until this week prepping for the show.
Maybe you just read it in your like early wild days.
Maybe. I would have swore I'd read it, but man, no.
It had been about 3 years for me. I read it about 3 years ago.
Honestly, I think it's been close to 10.
Yeah.
But it's one I've read before that. I would read it like maybe once a year, once every couple of years, but I hadn't picked it up in a while. And refresher, all came right back. We'll get into it. I love this.
It's extremely good.
It's been quite a while for me. I don't know, maybe 10 years. It's really one of those things that you should probably reread, every like 2 or 3 years because you get a new perspective on it.
And just a side note I want to make because the viewers can't see it. Like it'd be a lot better if we all had brought our copies in because it's all like a little different.
Yeah.
I think Jerry's got the softbound, probably third printing
Trade
of
paperback.
the trade.
I've got the hardcover 20th anniversary deluxe edition that I actually plucked from Mark Waid's hands when I was in LA and went to visit a local comic shop that I had no clue he was going to be at, and lo and behold, Mark Waid was there.
Show off.
So
Right.
Greg, you just originally got the flop.
I bought the floppies.
nice.
Yeah.
The
From
OGs.
from our dude down the street.
That
I
guy?
was going to buy the book that's actually in Jerry's hands, and he gave it to me at the same price. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy the floppies.
Very cool.
I said mine is, I think, the second printing. It's a different cover than what Caleb and Jerry have. It's one of the older printings. It's the same one I've had for probably 15 years.
Does it have Shazam on the front?
No. It's a group. It's a group shop, but it's a different group shop.
It's probably in the back of this book if you want to check
Possibly.
it out.
I'll see if
While
I can
I'm
find
doing this. So let's tell everybody what we're talking about a little bit. So Kingdom Come is written. It was scripted by Mark Waid, but it was written and drawn by Alex Ross. This is the brainchild of Alex Ross. I think the floppies came out in 94, 91 or 94.
Somewhere around there.
Top of my head, I'm a bad nerd, so a lot of you continuity hounds are out there just throwing stuff at me. This is a story of the future of DC. Superman is checked out. Wonder Woman is checked out. She's gone back to Themyscira. Aquaman has resigned himself to Atlantis. All the other superheroes are kind of doing their own thing, but not really. The world has become extremely authoritarian in the absence of these superheroes, and their kids and grandkids and I guess the junior leaders have basically defeated all the bad guys that they could, and in the absence of actual bad guys, they've just kind of become a lot of infighting and honestly like terrorists because they're
bullies.
Bored, they're bullies, they're pieces of shit for the lack of better words. I mean, there are better words. I just don't want to say them. So Superman comes back, and what he finds is that in his absence, justice and peace has pretty much gone away, and he has to try to fill that void.
I think you gave a pretty good synopsis kind of situation they're in. They dealt with a world. This is way in the future. Dealt with a long time without Superman, and while that trope may sound familiar, I think they've done it since. It's not. I don't know if it's necessarily the first, but it's one of the early stories of Superman going away. You kind of see the effects of the Boy Scout being gone.
And he tries to put the Justice League back together and back in power. So you still get a lot of your classic Justice League characters, but they have to try to exist in this world. Batman's there, Flash there, Green Lantern's there.
And just them in the future. We'll get into that. Some of my favorite aspects: full powered Justice League in their age.
So something I do want to point out before we go much further is this is actually what they called back then an Elseworld story.
Right.
We call it now out of continuity or an imprint or something like that, but DC did a series of Elseworld stories. It was an imprint, and it's where the writers could write out of continuity without messing up the current DC continuity or even future DC continuity.
An equivalent of this would be Marvel's What If Tales.
Yes.
So this is essentially saying, hey, come up with some insane stuff, but you're not bound by the limitations of continuity.
Take these characters who they are, push them to their extremes, and see what you get.
Right.
Absolutely.
And some great, great stories come out of that.
I mean, another example of a Elseworld story was a book that actually was banned because somebody put Superman's baby in a microwave. That happened in an Elseworld comic book.
How come no one talks about getting microwaved? Baby's got rights too.
Because Gail Simone hasn't turned it.
I think we need to escalate it to being called kitchen. Stop kitchening people.
Yeah, kitchening people.
Don't fridge them. Don't microwave them. Don't blender them.
Yeah, that was a thing that happened in an Elseworld. So back to Kingdom Come, though.
So so in Kingdom Come, like I said, Superman comes back, world's in chaos, lots of stuff's happening. They're trying to rein everybody in. They're trying to rein all these superheroes in. This story, it's hard to really talk about what it is because it takes place in 3 parts. It takes place in the mind of the Spectre and a preacher that he is visiting, that he's walking this to. Imagine the Charles Dickens...
Norman McKay, right?
Yeah, Norman McKay is his name. Charles Dickens' Christmas Tale. Spirit shows up and is walking Charles Dickens through, his past and his life. Imagine that, except he's just showing him the world. He's showing him the world as it is. And inevitably what it gets to is that he's the heartbeat of humanity. He's an outside judge of the human consciousness and this struggle between power, which speaks to about what the theme of this book is. This book is about responsibility. It's about self-reliability. You get human versus meta. How should humanity be responsible for itself? How should the meta-humans be responsible for protecting humanity? How should they use their powers? It's about real-world cynicism. There's so much real-world cynicism written into these pages. This book is almost timeless. Reading this book now in the current political climate, you can't help but, I'm not saying that Mark Waid and Alex Ross are akin to Nostradamus, but they wrote a story that is so timeless, it has its finger on the pulse of American culture, and at least what we are now, that it was easily foreseeable that we might go down this path. The book it's a dichotomy. It's about dichotomies. Sanity versus insanity, religious literalism versus metaphor, nostalgia, the concept of human achievement, commercialization of heroicism, and the diminishing the purity of nobility for profit. All of that is in this book. All of that came out of the beautiful pen strokes and brushstrokes of Mark Waid, of Alex Ross, and it went back and Mark Waid scripted it. So, considering that we all went back and read this, I put together a list of questions that I thought we could go through. What to you guys made this almost a near instantaneous classic? Because it's been out for, I think, 22 years now. 22 or 23 years. What in your opinion made this book such a classic?
I mean, for me, it was definitely the art had a huge thing on it. The character designs, especially, instead of using like Hal Jordan and Barry Allen,
right? They
used Jay Garrick and Alan Scott, which I thought was pretty appropriate for the series. But
diving in like that link to the old school DC continuity in the golden age.
Well, I mean, you could almost say that because Alex Ross did work on Jeff Johns' Justice Society, that this was kind of a precursor to that Justice Society with having them on that team. So, as far as for me, what made it a classic was it was just such a different look on superheroes at the time. What if we take these beings that are so powerful and we give them flaws and let's see what happens? And to me, that was so different than what we had seen in comics, other than maybe outside of Watchmen up to that. So that to me was just such a new take.
For me, it was actually one of my first few DC books that I read in trade paperback. I was a Marvel kid growing up. Then I met some friends who were big DC fans, and they lent me a few trades. This was one of them. So you take a kid who basically has a basic knowledge of DC, through like Wizard magazine, watching the movies and stuff, and you're seeing this alternate take about them now being older and now being even before you get into all the deepness of the story, my little mind was just blown by seeing the Flash at full power. Mm-hmm. Green Lantern using his ring to make a fortress in space at all times. Yeah. Like I said, the Flash literally be able to be everywhere at one time.
Right, on being the Blur.
Right, literally, and it's just like that blew my mind. It was a unique story for me, and I'm pretty sure at that time they hadn't really tackled these kind of subjects. And then just seeing like everyone painted so realistically. Like I've always said, like if you want to see like what superheroes look like in real life, look at Alex Ross's paintings. He gets models for references for the shadow and light, but he makes sure he hires the ones that fit the mold.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, from Superman, looking like he did when he started, actually. He made him very 1950s muscle man.
Well, he draws him a lot like Christopher Reeve.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, definitely. Like in the face, there's aspects of that, but he's always drawn in the real barrel chest from the 50s. You know what I mean?
He's very much the circus strongman.
Ripped. Yeah. Wonder Woman, who like we made the argument. You know, her strength doesn't come from muscles, from magic. He draws her like what you would imagine a built Amazon would look.
Right.
And it's amazing. The art drew me in. And just seeing all the crazy shit they're doing, which we'll get a little more into when they're super powered up.
So yeah, one of the things you talked about was Flash.
Yeah.
And not only being anywhere at any time, but also being
multiple places.
Time,
anywhere.
Oh yeah, when he snatched the preacher out of limbo, out of another dimension, that's power.
Yeah, right.
So,
absolutely.
Well, and so you mentioned Watchmen a while ago, Craig, and I don't think we have Kingdom Come without Watchmen, because I think Kingdom Come is a direct response to Watchmen.
I think so.
Watchmen is dark, it's gritty. Watchmen's overly cynical. It's almost an overt political commentary on just how it doesn't matter what system we set up. This is almost the positive response to that, saying, no, it does matter a little bit, right? It does matter.
I see where you're getting at 100%. And just side note, Alex Ross had a lot of fun with this book. I don't know if a lot of people even know about it, but there are a ton of Easter eggs in his paintings. Rorschach's in this book.
Is he?
He's in a group shot at a bar.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Let's see your floppy. I don't mess up hardbound books.
Oh, you're fine. We're passing books around the table just because we have different editions. So one of the main themes in this book is that man loses faith in the powerful, and at the same time, the powerful lose their faith in mankind. That could be said about both the Watchmen and Kingdom Come. I think the difference between the two, and why I don't necessarily I prefer the outcome of Kingdom Come, and I prefer maybe some of the positivity from Kingdom Come. I think Watchmen's probably the better of the two as far as artistic quality and as far as the writing and everything. You know, I'm not sure does Watchmen.
I get what you're saying. They take it from two different angles. The superheroes fuck up in both of them.
Right.
I was thinking, there's a big tragedy at the end.
There's a lot of fucking up in Kingdom Come.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely.
And in Kingdom Come, you have more chances of having this crazy post-apocalyptic scenario because you have more people with like ridiculously crazy powers and stuff. And I mean, that's kind of where they touch on whenever it gets to Kansas. So it's kind of cool that at one point they almost set humanity aside and they had, you know, mankind and then superhuman kind.
Well, I think redemption. I think maybe that's the separation of the two, is that in Kingdom Come there are redemption of these characters. In Watchmen, there's not redemption. There's a cover up.
Yeah, well,
in a sense, yeah. Absolutely.
I think what you have in this book is you have, like we talked about, the heroes have retired, but they're like, we kind of fucked up because the kids aren't handling it. We got to come back and take over. They are trying to do the right thing, not necessarily the right way.
Right.
And so, which leads into the next part, so I'm going to kind of drop it off there until we get to the next.
Well, for sure. But before we get there, so I put together a list of things about mainly the first, I guess it'd be the first floppy, the first chapter of this book. And I put together kind of a character list and basically where these characters, the starting point is, that I want to mention and see if, number one, if you guys agree with that. Okay. And by the end of the book, where we think those characters went. So the story is narrated through Norman McKay and the Spectre.
Right.
That's basically it. The Spectre acts as largely kind of an explainer of hope. I don't know if he's necessarily an agent of hope, but he kind of stands as a neutral judge and explains hope to Norman McKay. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Superman has given up on hope and justice altogether.
Yes.
In the first chapter.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. With Magog. Was like the big guy. He it was that more extreme, which is almost a tale about the view of comics in the 90s. He was much more extreme. That did not agree with it.
I've got on this. We'll skip to there. Magog is a stand-in for 90s characters. I actually put down that he was an analog for Cable in a lot of ways. Would you agree with that? Yes or no?
I see where you're coming from.
Or at least an analog for like what comics were in the 90s when this was being written, and losing that golden age, that spirit.
Yeah, I mean, it was the overpowered, overtly large hero that was not doing things even remotely close to right.
And I don't want to say that I'm busting on 90s comics, because 90s comics, some of them were great, but there was something.
There was a theme that ran through the 90s, and Magog follows that theme for sure.
So, The Flash, he's in the world, but not a part of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, he never talks or interacts or anything. He just acts.
Yeah, he never slows down enough to actually take time to be in the world.
Hawkman is an eco-terrorist.
Yes, definitely. And it was kind of cool how they changed him up, and he's actually has the hawk head.
Yeah, he's based off of the Egyptian god.
Yeah.
That style. Green Lantern is the man on the wall.
Yes, he is Nick Fury,
Right.
watching the universe, making sure nothing attacks from outside.
Wonder Woman and Aquaman have retreated to their own realms, although Wonder Woman is the only one who tries to reason with Cal.
Yes.
I thought, and I could be just warping it in my mind, but I thought she got kicked out of the mascara.
No, she didn't get. Well, you're right.
She did.
But
Yeah.
she just kind of living her life.
That's
I
the
guess,
reason. That's the reason she comes back, is because she got her title taken away as being the ambassador to the world of men. But that was a recent event up until that point, and she was in Themyscira.
Yeah.
She checked out.
Right, absolutely.
Batman is an entity of martial law.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, and his cronies.
Bad bots.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is also
Straight up authoritarianism.
indeed, in which Alex Ross even made a little subtle design. Again, his Easter egg, which I will be talking about, but I don't know if anyone else will pay that much attention. Is a suit that he's wearing to keep him going.
Yeah.
The neck piece is intentionally Darth Vader's.
Really? I didn't
Really look at it.
I picked up on that. I didn't know that was
The
intentional.
neck piece with his helmet off. That's intentional.
Okay, are there any other characters that have specific ideologies behind them that you think are important that I might have left out?
No, because I think the rest of them kind of play some background characters. You end up with Green Arrow and stuff like
Right.
that. But they're
And
kind
then
of
you
in
have
Luthor and
you have
all of
the
his-
villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you hit like the main central. I would say. There's like I said, there's a spanning story throughout the 4 issues.
Yeah, there's 4 issues.
So I'll get into my complaint about that in a minute.
I'm excited about that. All right, so with all of that in mind, there is a lot of things to thematically unpack, and I've mentioned a little bit of them before. What do you guys think, and it can be more than one, what do you think are the main themes of this book? Plot aside, the continuity things aside, Mark Waid and Alex Ross were preaching a little bit with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we like to say, people here, I preach a little bit. They were preaching a little bit here.
Yeah, they were.
What do you think are the most important thing? Like, what sermon were they delivering to the audience?
Well, essentially, it boils down to, no matter how different the superhumans and the humans were, they were all just humanity, essentially. And, I mean, it kind of just comes down to, differences of, race and gender and stuff like today, where we're all just humans. And
So no matter what strata you meet, not dependent on nationalism, classism, or xenophobia, that everyone has ability to inherently have power and to misuse that power.
Yes.
Okay.
So for me, it was this conflict between Batman's authoritarianism and Superman's almost fascism. To me, Superman's theme is that just because you can do something and you can force a people to bow to your will because you're that powerful, doesn't mean you should. And, he does a lot of things wrong before he redeems himself. And you have this clash between the two. They're trying to accomplish the same thing as they do in today's comics. Batman and Superman are often at odds with each other on how to accomplish something. But this is if you take both of them to their extremes, what could happen? And without the constant, maybe arguably having Wonder Woman in both of their ears, keeping them in mind.
Right. I really like that you distinguish between authoritarianism and fascism, because a lot of people think those are the same thing.
They're not.
They
can be.
They can be, but
They
there
can
are
share
very
things.
nuanced differences. And if you look at the way that Batman wants to control things, and that Batman always has wanted to control things, versus the way that Superman does, there's so many differences there.
Yes.
And, two guys that I would never want to be up against in trivia are Mark Waid and Alex Ross, because those dudes, they just know. They've studied these people inherently.
In this book, the differences are very clear while they're both trying to accomplish the same thing in a very, very different way. To me, that was at least the first 3 books that I picked up.
For me, I mean, y'all already nailed it all on the head already. If anything else, and maybe a more of a, not quite as deep looking into it, I think a big theme of it is that change is inevitable with this new wave of superheroes and how they're doing things.
Oh, absolutely.
But you can't forget the past. You can't forget the values of the old as well. And I think that was also a reoccurring theme in the movie. And like I said, y'all nailed everything else. Absolutely.
That's absolutely a reoccurring theme, and it's a good point.
Absolutely. No, and it's something that we didn't talk about. There's a cliche saying, and I hate that it's cliche because it's 100% true, that those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it.
And like we get into with these new heroes and villains who are like descendants of other previous ones, and they're kind of going over the edge. Like I said, Magog is completely opposed to what Superman did, and it's like not necessarily wrong, but it's a little like overboard.
It's almost as if too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Right.
It's a culmination.
Because Superman took himself out of the picture, being that beacon of hope, that beacon of, as Batman was called, the Boy Scout. World kind of got a little crazy without someone to go, hey, that's too much. We still got to stop that.
So, and again, I think you guys have, the next thing on my list was to talk about the art, but I think we've kind of already done that. Alex Ross is insane.
Yeah.
He does some of the most, so one of my favorite things about comic art is that it's low-end art. Now, that sounds like I'm insulting it. I'm not. It's absolutely what I love about it. I love that comics are basically, they're meant to be consumed. They're meant to be rolled up and stuffed in your back pocket. They're meant to be appreciated. They're not meant to be the Salvador Dalis, the Da Vinci's, they're all of these high-end artists. Mark Waid is the high-end version of comic art. And just stunning, magnificent pieces of art that you can.
Alex Ross.
I'm bad with names. Mark Ross, Alex Waid. Alex Mark Waid Ross.
Gentlemen, both of you, if you have any problem with him mixing up what you've done on this book,
please come on the show. Please come on.
Bring your fight to me. Alex Ross is the high-end version of comic art.
Absolutely. I mean, my wife would tell you right now, she walked out here and you said who's Craig's favorite artist, she would tell you Alex Ross.
And I think Sean, he's one of yours.
I'm absolutely top tier artist. Like I said, we've already been gushing. I could go on more and more about Easter eggs. That's what I'm gonna throw out there. First time you see the bat box, whatever they're called, taking down some of those kids, that was Fat Albert again.
Really?
Ross had so much damn fun. You can just look into the backgrounds. The village people are superheroes in the background of one shot. The teenagers from the Super Friends cartoon.
Oh, wow.
Remember them?
Wendy.
I believe they're in this book.
Well, and spoilers, there gets to be a point to where the military decides to step in and you get the threat of a nuclear event. Yeah. The person flying the plane is a Black Hawk. It's DC's got a film and production are in the works to be produced. That's the Blackhawks. That's the guy who's flying the plane. So I haven't seen what editions you guys have. In the back of mine, you get breakdowns of a lot of these background characters, and
yours is a lot more than mine.
Let me just, like, if you ever get a chance to see the 20th anniversary edition, do it, because it will help you appreciate the depth that Alex Ross is willing to go to.
Yeah. I was actually going to bring that up. That was my favorite character design in the whole book.
Say it, man.
Deadman.
Yeah.
Yeah. His appearance and when he shows up, when they have the quintessence, was just one of my favorite scenes in that whole book. Like Boston Brand's like this crazy like skeleton, and his trapeze suit's all torn up and stuff.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
Yeah. So let me ask you all this. Since we're gushing on the art.
Absolutely.
None of us have Alex Ross money.
No.
But if you did, what would be the one piece you would buy out of this book?
One piece.
Foreshadowing. But you know what I mean. Like, what would, if you don't have it ready, I'll go ahead and mention.
Why don't you start us off and
give
me just a moment to think?
There is absolutely no question in my mind. Just in case y'all don't remember, there is a large conflict at the end of the book where all the villains are meeting up and fighting the heroes. And then there's this one moment that kind of pauses that entire conflict in one simple motion. That is a lightning bolt or a flash of color. And Shazam is standing there over Superman, and it simply says Armageddon has arrived.
Yes.
I would drop
Now-
so much Alex Ross money on
And
this original.
And we haven't even mentioned that character yet, but such a pivotal part in this. But so were you? Let me back up. Were you asking me what page out of this book would I buy?
Yeah, out of Kingdom Come specifically.
Okay, because I do have an answer to that.
While he's coming up with that answer, I will say that my first introduction to this book, before I even read it at all, was those 2 pages in a Wizard magazine.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
same. I've seen it before I ever read it, and
Right.
I saw that picture. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So Shazam's one of my favorite characters, but he just never gets any love in books.
How much do you hate calling him Shazam?
Yeah, please,
I
Craig.
know.
We're talking about Kingdom Come. Just call him that.
So,
What, the one that's going to be in Infinity War?
Yeah.
I couldn't even say.
so,
Copyright wars.
so I don't mind calling him Shazam.
I don't either.
That's
Actually,
honestly, that's how he was introduced to me as his name. So
Yeah,
I would call him Shazam.
that was my same one that I would
Yeah.
choose. It's such a beautiful drawing in painting. The only thing about that is that he needs dance shorts like Jerry did for his Lantern cosplay.
Look, they ain't got time for no dance belts
Or Red Lantern
when you're saving the world and or trying to destroy the world.
Yes.
so I'm going to cheat. I have one that if I had Alex Ross money, I would absolutely buy, and then I have a runner-up.
Okay.
So there is a page, I believe it's in the first chapter, it may be in the second chapter, I'm not sure. It is when the Justice League is descending on Earth, and Superman is flying, he's in kind of a Jesus pose, you have Green Lantern holding a claymore, you have Wonder Woman, you have Garrett's version of the Flash being him, you have Power Girl, you have Hawkman, and you have a character that I'm not largely actually...
It's the Ray.
It's the Ray?
I
Okay,
think
yeah.
So.
It's
Or
hard
Captain
to...
Comic.
Captain Comet? It may
How
be.
about that?
Yeah.
I have to see that. Look at it upside
Yeah,
down.
I could find out.
Probably
Yeah,
had
back
me
to
Green
Red.
Lantern.
Yeah,
a little bit
anyway,
anymore.
I know, right?
It's gorgeous. You see the sun and the clouds behind them. Now there's a runner-up. The runner-up in this is actually it's a story page, and it's Clark, Superman, Kal-El is in the Batcave. He's meeting with Bruce. They are disagreeing. They're screaming at each other. You see pure rage in Superman's face, and you see straight up like calm confusion and who the fuck do you think you are in Bruce's face. And they're talking about an event that's going to occur, and that's largely something that they caused.
Yeah.
And they are disagreeing on how to handle the situation.
Wow.
It is
It's
it
the
is
theme of the whole book.
it is a gorgeous page of truly stunning sequential art. And so if I had Alex Ross money, I would buy that one as well. So
little quick side note of jealousy out of me now. My copy of that trade paperback, the piece I would buy,
yeah.
is a half page.
Oh really?
They made it a full fucking page in y'all's version. I'm mad now.
Damn. So just one last thing though. So the depth to
And I don't know
which
how it is in the original one. Yeah.
the depth to which Alex Ross actually had all of this planned out. So there's 1,001 characters in this book. Every page, there's people in the background, people you've never heard of. He actually has bios and notes for almost all of them, every single one. And
It's almost Tolkien in scope.
You-
What the background.
yeah, you really do get
Right. Aged creeper.
I love it.
a character after Big Barda. That's actually Big Barda's daughter. Anyway, you really get these Batwoman before.
And that was a character I never realized until I read it this year. Was Orion?
Right.
Yeah, he's taking
Oh,
over
yeah.
the reins of Darkseid.
Yeah, which is why they did great with the shout out in Darkseid's pose, then the reveal of it being Orion.
And just to take the time to know who all those, even if it's just a blip in one panel on one page and they don't do anything. But even the characters that you don't get an explanation for that you see multiple times, like 666.
Yeah.
There's a character who's largely, he looks like a bondage style character, and he's meant to be like, he's technically a good guy, but he's meant to be this representation of the anti-hero.
Grimdark.
Right, and he's in bondage gear, and he has 2 6s on his chest that cover his nipples, and one on his face. Just to have that all out is, I mean, that's work, man. Like that dude and that's why, in my opinion, this is also a classic, is because to put that much work and detail into it, it's bonkers.
So, Craig, did you have a page that you would want to get?
I did. The same one as
Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said that
Mine,
on the air.
since you guys asked earlier, would either be that first awesome page of showing Green Lantern in the Citadel, or the first meetup in the Citadel with everybody sitting around the table.
Oh, very good.
And again, that's very reminiscent of the work he did on the Justice Society with Jeff Johns. So many things out of this book were Magog is their first villain in the Justice Society.
Oh.
So many things out of this book became canon later in the Justice Society.
They did take stuff.
Yeah.
Even to Red Robin.
Yeah.
That costume,
I love
I
that
believe
they had Red
debuted
Robin.
in Kingdom Come, and now it's the main continuity.
I was going to ask, how do you guys feel about the fact that was Dick Grayson?
I love it.
And they used that costume for Tim Drake. Yeah. Which brings me to my next question on the list. How do you guys feel about these future versions of the character? What they did with them, everything from how they looked to how they acted. And do you guys feel like there was any characters that are in the DC canon, are in the DC continuity, the Legends, that were underserved?
What I talked about earlier, yes. As far as like the ones we did seeing the Flash everywhere at one time. Green Lantern having his own kingdom made from his brain. Seeing them super powered up was just amazing. Seeing them at the peak of their abilities was great. Yes, like, did we not get enough of certain other major characters? That's actually, because there's a question later on about criticisms, is the 4-issue problem. I want more of this, because there are so many characters that they did not get enough time. And I love this idea. I love this future world of seeing Nightwing and Starfire's daughter. She's in the background and in part of stuff, but we know nothing about her. And I want more of that. I want more of these incentives. So, a lot of people didn't get enough time. No one specific.
They kind of address some of those in Multiversity. I don't know if they were directly these kids, but they do address in one of them. It's a very similar story. So you might check out some of those Multiversities for some of that stuff. For me, the overall character designs, I absolutely love. I think, it's hard to criticize Alex Ross. His character designs, his artwork is flawless. Me personally, I hate almost every superhero in this book until the final chapter.
Right.
I really do. From the current ones that they're trying to stop to the old ones that allowed it to get to that point.
And I think that's the point.
Oh, yeah. But, absolutely it's the point. So they did an exceptional job of getting that feeling out of it, because it was like, these are not my heroes. I probably felt the same way reading this that a lot of people felt watching The Last Jedi. That's not my league. It's that same, you're seeing them at a later time, and they've evolved into something you're not used to seeing, and it really kind of feels wrong.
Right.
But it's also a very possible way that they could have ended up.
To me, that very aspect, though, is what makes that it brings out the humanity. It's like, as children, we see our dads, our parents, as super beings. My dad is Superman. Like, he can do anything. He's my dad. He can pick me up and throw me in the air. He's dad. And then as you become an adult, you realize your dad's a human, that your dad's a man,
right.
And that even through time, the world, the surroundings, the events that happen around you that you can't help can change your personality, and in a lot of cases they do. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. That makes them human. That gives them a humanity, and so maybe that's like I can understand why Luke has changed in Star Wars. I understand how Kal-El, and in this book, he is not Clark.
No,
he does not like to be called Clark. He is Kal-El. I understand how he gets to that point. I understand how Batman doesn't change. Batman's still Batman.
Batman's still Batman.
He's a more active version of himself. He's
Batman without Clark Kent to keep him in line.
He's Batman without the conscience, which works for his character because he's limited by his lack of superhuman abilities. And so even though he's in the same place, he's less effective and he's less dangerous than those other characters are.
Yeah.
And I get that. I like that. That's what makes them human.
Okay.
Just as a response to what you were going to say.
Jared?
Like Sean said about the creeper that we were talking about in there, seeing an age creeper was pretty cool. Pretty interesting. Green Lantern definitely takes the cake for me. The Knight armor is really badass. It's interesting that he uses just this giant claymore sword.
Right.
I can't remember a lot about Alan Scott's Green Lantern ring, but I know it was a bit different than how Jordan's
was magic based
Yeah.
instead of science based.
Yeah. But see, at the same time, at the very end of the book, whenever they were showing the round table of the UN, his little thing said OA.
Right.
So,
New Oa.
yeah.
Actually, I think it said New
Yeah.
Oa.
So that was kind of interesting. And even the subtle change in Superman's shield with the black in it.
Going
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
the old shield.
Yeah.
It's another throwback, another little Easter egg.
Yeah.
Made. Was there anyone you felt like you would like to have seen more of?
Actually, Blue Beetle. Like,
Yeah, Ted
like
Ford.
his
Ted Ford, Blue
his
Beetle.
design was really fucking cool, and I would have liked to see more out of that character. Unfortunately, we'll never get that because he was a skeleton at the very end after that nuclear blast.
I want to throw in real quick. I did think of a character that we've seen briefly, but didn't get any kind of shine. We saw a beer-bellied, balding Lobo.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen him in it someplace.
That would have been
I mean,
hilarious.
that's one of the great things about this book is there's so much going on.
You
in
can
the
spend
background.
days.
You
can
can
spend
just
days.
looking at the
And we
art.
have.
Yeah.
So for me, I follow you guys on everything you said. If I had any interesting character designs, I wish Diana had her suit of armor that she wears at the end of the book in the beginning.
whole book.
Yeah, I don't necessarily care for the fact that everybody else had really, really different looks except for her. I wish she had kind of and her look is iconic and it switched up a little bit. I would have loved to see that suit of armor the entire time to show more progression for her.
Yeah.
All these other people have progressed, even in their aesthetic. She hasn't. And
But I
would've-
think that's partly because she remained in the world a little bit more than the rest of them.
well, but see, she is now, but she went back to Themyscira. She and Aquaman did the same thing.
But she was
They
still
were-
an ambassador.
That's true. She was still an ambassador. So maybe
I feel like, I know what you're saying, absolutely. But I do feel like her donning the armor was really showing like what she'd been holding back. She, like I said, being the ambassador, she tried to keep going about what is, but like her donning that armor and Clark's discussion with her showed how far she actually strayed more back to the old warlike
right.
ways of where she had been because she put herself in that situation.
Oh, and she commits murder.
She does, absolutely.
And it's cool because the character that she actually kills is a physical representation of fascism. I mean, there's a lot of fascism in this book, but like if you go back and you read about what is written about that character, his original design had a swastika.
Right.
But there's another character in this called the swastika that Alex Ross decided to use that for. If there was any character in this book that I did not get enough of, that I thought was underserved, it was Aquaman. I would have loved to have seen more of Aquaman.
Right.
He leads legions. He is the masters of the sea. And that's, granted, that's a larger problem for DC in general, is that in a lot of times Aquaman, his power is underserved. The same thing can be said over in Marvel Land for Namor. I think they should utilize both of those characters because in their inception, those men are fearful.
You like semen?
Yeah. Fucking hate me.
We better be careful. Caleb's about to get on his soapbox about Namor.
No, but that would be my character in consuming this, and we're not going to do this book is legend, and there's a good chance if you're listening to this podcast, you've read this book. If not, just go buy it. But how do you guys feel like this affected the future of DC Comics? I mean, there's no question that it did. Even with all the, your crises and how it's changed and your timelines and everything, this book not only affected DC Comics, it had an impact on comics in general. What ways do you guys think it did that? Like, how do you see its influence today?
Personally, I can speak from someone who knew almost nothing about DC and reading this book. And I had heard of at that time I had read it, but I already heard that were more mature books like Watchmen and V for Vendetta. I had heard about them from Wizard Magazine. This was the first comic book that showed me, though, that you can take spandex and cape heroes and do a mature storyline.
Right.
I wasn't getting that from Marvel. We had the grim, I was a 90s kid, read the comics, so we had the grim, dark, all that kind of stuff. But this was a deep story, a mature story. Not in the sense of the overt sex or overt violence or anything like that. Just that they can take these superheroes that we've known for years, and some of them being to the point of being silly, and make a deep, mature story about it. And I think that's the biggest impact it probably had before. I'm sure that there may have been some before. This is the first one I ever read.
So, my thoughts were almost exactly the same as Sean's. You took characters that these cape characters and spandex and cape, as Sean called them.
Underwear is on the outside, and we took them serious.
And even go a step further, we took the Golden Age version of them, because essentially every one of these characters, whether it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, we've talked about Green Lantern, both of them actually being the Golden Age. Superman's design's very Golden Age.
Oh,
and they took them and they made them flawed. And I don't know that previous to that in the DC history, you had really flawed characters. They were more even Batman until the 90s was written as a Boy Scout kind of guy. Yeah. It wasn't until, that time period where they started writing them darker, between this and the Watchmen, as Sean said, other things. And then it allowed them to open up ideas, as I've said multiple times now, for things like the Justice Society, where you can bring the Golden Age characters back into continuity. So I think that we're still seeing the effects of
Absolutely.
This on comics, and specifically on DC Comics today.
Yeah, it's just really interesting how, they kind of take liberties with so many characters and everything like that. And it was kind of an interesting way of them to plan the future without even really planning the future.
Yeah.
And kind of seeing, like, this is interesting, but what if we do it this way or something like that? Like, for a while they tried to put Wonder Woman and Superman in a relationship, but then, they kind of realized that, no, he more belongs to Lois and everything. And then how they end up having a kid at the end of this. Well, Superman has a kid now. And it's a very prominent thing. And it's kind of interesting to see how that turned out a little bit differently. What's up?
Side note, since I didn't know we were going to discuss that ending, so you already brought it up.
Sorry.
No, I mean, we didn't know.
No, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So, not only
The
that.
book is 20 years old.
It's a child by Wonder Woman and Superman that's going to be trained by Batman.
Yeah.
That fucker is either going to save the entire world or destroy it.
Yeah, everyone will die.
And we need to find out how that happens.
So, as Jerry said, it shows you kind of like unintentionally what they were going to do with the future of their universe. It made me think of something that's unrelated but related. Is when in relationship to this did Earth-X come out for Marvel? Because it did a lot of the same things now that I'm thinking about it.
I believe Earth-X came after.
I believe it came after as well, but did kind of the same thing where it promoted a future for their world. So,
Right.
Yeah.
What was the year for this?
This was 1994, I believe.
99.
Double check me on
It's
that.
definitely before Earth-X. I want to say it's 91.
So while you guys are looking that up, I'll answer the question that I posed to you guys.
96.
No, that's later than I thought.
I think that might be just for your edition, though.
2008 was my edition. 96 is copyright for Kingdom.
Oh, cool. That makes sense. So I think for this, as far as how it affected comics today, I think this book, it didn't completely reverse a course, but it helped it steer it a little bit back towards center. So as I said earlier, you had books like The Watchmen that made comics very adult themes, really hyper-violent, really cynical. Comics have always been political, but it took a new side where it directly addressed the potential for heroics and fascism to go hand in hand, and how we see those things. Frank Miller's Dark Knight, which was 86, I believe, it came out years before this. Batman versus Superman fighting. There was a lot of thematics of that in there. Again, very, very dark, very gritty. How do superheroes play off one another, and how, in fact, they can actually be bad for the world. Those two things also changed the way comics were written, and it took it into more of I don't want to say overtly negative, but there were negative aspects of it. And especially in the way that we view superheroes, this showed you that you can take those things and you can still have those very adult themes. You can still deal with things like superheroic fascism, perception and narcissism versus actual heroics. Basically what would Booster Gold do? You can take those things and still inject the Golden Age themes of hope and kindness and love and justice. And even, for Superman, the American way, that whole like flag waving aspect of it. And you can inject those into the types of stories being told by Frank Miller, being told by Alan Moore. And like I said, it didn't completely steer it back to where it was, but it maybe helped it find center. I don't think if it were, I think if this book doesn't exist, the characters in comics as a whole go to some real dark places, and public perceptions of what superheroes were would have went into a different area, into an entirely different arena. So I think that the aspect of what we don't have is also worth mentioning,
Right.
because this had an effect on it. So 2 last questions on this, and then we're going to move on to our books of the week, which I'm pumped about. Do you guys think that 20-something years later this book holds up? And I've already answered my part. If you go back and listen, I said that I think it does. And do you guys have any... every book has flaws. We're human. Everything... There is no quote-unquote perfect book, arguably, very arguably. But do you guys notice any flaws in this? Are there any things that you guys see as inherently mistakes that were made? Anything that could have been righted to increase your enjoyment of the product in your hand?
No, I think it holds up well.
Yeah.
And it was done perfectly, in my opinion.
I think it absolutely holds up 20 years later. I think this is something that people should study when they want to learn about literature or even making comics. It's a must read. Only criticism is what I've already mentioned. I'm so interested in this world, I need more.
Right.
Now, I get we probably can't get Waid and Ross back together, but if Mark Waid, you already mentioned how much research they went into making characters. I do want Waid writing it, at least.
Yeah.
I need more. 4 issues was not enough for this world, for all the generations of heroes that they could put the spotlight on.
I take an opposite stance on that. I want more. I don't think we need it. I think what makes this book amazing is that we don't have it. That's kind of like the before Watchmen stuff and everything else. I think those actually, even though I enjoyed some of them, I think those actually decrease the magic in what was in Watchmen. So I'm glad that we haven't gotten that for this. But I totally. Yeah, we now owe Alan more money.
It's fair. And that's fair. And it's just like I said, though, there's this, and a lot of it is just because of Alex Ross's designs, probably that he made such interesting designs for all these characters who we only see in the background. We don't get to see what they're about, how what's going on. So it makes a man curious.
Sean wants the Cimarrillion.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
I again absolutely think this book holds up. I think it actually holds up more today than it did 5 years ago, because we were in a completely different place. Reading this today versus reading this the last time I read it, when politics in the world were different. This book means more and says more now than it did then. That's just my personal politics coming into play, and I don't think you can't remove politics from this because it's inherent in it. If I had a criticism, it would be that some of the villain designs and some of just the background designs. Again, I'm talking about people like the 666 guy, the swastika, Von Hess, I think his name is, the guy with he's all tattooed except for his cross. That it screams 1992 to me. It's very Matrixy, goth culture. Marilyn Manson's just coming out. Weirdness and leather. That to me dated itself. The designs from everybody else, they're based on classic designs, so they really do thrive. Some of the other stuff that it's playing off of a lot of what Frank Miller did in his books, and those designs, I think they do not hold up as well, and that would be my one complaint. He immersed those characters way too much in the pop culture of the time that it was being written.
I can make a counterpoint to your complaint.
Do it, fist bump.
I will. I think that's totally intentional. I think that's, like, as we discussed earlier, that this is a commentary on the 90s era of comics. I think he made them like that for that very reason. And that's why they were opposition or going against the old ways.
All right.
I think those designs were, your reaction to it is completely intentional.
Fair. Maybe I'm being played. That's fair enough. Hey.
Great.
So I, again, for the same reason you do, Caleb, I believe the book holds up. I think politically, in today's political environment, this book speaks more than it did 10 years ago.
Right.
Honestly, the only flaw I had in this book, and it's something I just talked about a minute ago, was it took me a minute to be able to wrap my head around the fact that Superman can become this.
Right.
Superman's character arc took me a minute to wrap my head around. Once I did, I was fine with the book. And even understanding the backstory, which they give you on how he gets there, it still didn't play well with me at first. But it did eventually. It clicked eventually. But that first chapter or so, I was not sold on it.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I think the perfect way to end our talk about Kingdom Come is, number one, to tell you to go buy it. Number two, end it the way the book ended it. If you're a person who is trying to force peace, be careful on how you do it. Because I think that's largely the takeaway from this.
Remember who you are.
And remember who you are and where you came from. The meta-humans, especially your Trinity, they gave up their ethics, and they tried to contain violence against their core values. The humans, they took the bridge too far with the nukes and the UN. They tried to use unbridled destruction in the name of their core values. So, your core values can cause destruction. If you give up your core values, it can cause destruction. Maintain that balance and don't be shitty.
And never trust Lex.
And never trust Lex Luthor, because what
Or
a
Batman.
fucking asshole. All right. Well, hey, this book came out 20-something years ago, but last Wednesday, 22 years ago, because math. This is why Jerry works with numbers. But he doesn't.
I don't really work with numbers. It's all bullshit.
Jeremy Facebook. Jerry Facebook.
Jerry Facebook.
Secret Jeremy is Jerry?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk
I
about
didn't
some...
want to use his real name because if he works for the government, I don't want
Let's talk about some books that came out this week, guys. Let's get smothered, covered in comics. So, Craig, why don't you tell me about a book, brother?
Yeah. So I took Sean's personal route, and I went really high end on this book. The book I'm going to talk about
Was it the one you were sending us
Yes.
pictures of earlier?
Whoa,
I
whoa,
am so excited about
You don't get
this.
to talk about Savage Dragon, I do.
No, this is on the level of Savage Dragon.
Sean is nothing but maturity, so I'm excited about this.
This is a book I actually talked about when this story arc started because it's the second story arc in the book. And if you remember me talking about Pestilence, it was a book that took place in the Middle Ages during the plague. Turns out the plague was really zombies. It was being covered up by the Catholic Church. The Knights Templar, I think it was. But anyways, the group of knights that were fighting, they come back, they realize what it was, they stop it. Well, it ends with Satan taking over. So, the first book, the knights go on about their life, but Satan has taken over the Catholic Church. And so, the second book starts, and it's got stuff. This is Pestilence, A Story of Satan by Aftershock Comics. It's issue number 2, written by Frank Thierry and drawn by Oleg Okunev.
Hey, you had me at Aftershock, man.
So, it says right on the cover, for mature readers only. So, if you've got kids in the room, run them out. So, this book starts off with a woman being turned into the Catholic Church because she still feels unclean because the people, when they stopped the zombie plague, they went back to being, the zombies turned back to human. If they had died during the plague, they became alive again, blah, blah, blah. What you don't know is that the devil's actually controlling all of those people. They really didn't come back to life. He's literally controlling all of them. And he brings her into the Catholic Church, and it turns out to be higher up in the church. He says, oh yeah, well you need to be cleansed, disrobe her, and he takes her into an orgy room where she has to be screwed into being cleansed. Well, turns out that she's being controlled by the devil. But then all of a sudden the devil shows up, picks the Pope's hat off of the Pope, puts it on his head, and tells the Pope that he could have at least given him one hell Satan all of this time, and because of that he's going to fuck him in the ass. And proceeds to,
as he do, as Satan do,
and proceeds to fuck him in the ass. And
Y'all?
and by the end of it, the Satan has he gives the Pope a chance to either continue to be fucked in the ass or to fall in line. He decides to fall in line, and
That's his fault.
the Pope, Satan possesses the Pope.
I've never been possessed by the Pope or Satan.
So
I have been fucked in the ass.
So Satan,
I've had my shit pushed in.
Remember that bar that we reached when we got so high up there with Kingdom Come?
yeah.
We just plummeted.
So
Thank you.
that was my book of the week. I highly suggest you read this book. It's got some very graphic images. I was actually going to talk about be killed. Final issue in that story. Amazing story with a great twist ending. You should absolutely go read that book. But for just pure fun, unadulterated horror /
Just
bottom of
cray-cray?
the barrel, I haven't seen anything like this since I read my first issue of Cross.
Well, I was going to say actually, this reminds me about some of the less reverent stuff that Garth Ennis did.
Sean's mad because Craig's stepping on his toes.
No, y'all give me shit about the little things that happen in Savage Dragon. Yet Craig, who we love and respect, has every issue of fucking Cross, and I've just started this book. I say Savage Dragon, y'all roll your fucking eyes.
So here you go, Sean. Just start flipping through right
Oh no,
about there.
I'm probably jumping on this book. Don't get me wrong. This is right up my
This is absolutely a Sean book.
Jerry,
absolutely.
You go. I got
He's got to look at this book.
Caleb,
before
what
he
was
does-
your book of the week?
My book of this week. So actually, this kind of segues off of what Craig was saying. He was going to talk about a book that ended this week. I'm actually going to talk about a book that ended this week, but it's not the one that he was speaking of. I had to say goodbye to a friend this week. Harrow County by Cullen Bunn and Tyler Crook. It reached its end. Issue 32 is the final chapter of Harrow County. This book has been my favorite series for the last 3 years. You've heard me talk about it. We spoke about it on the last episode, which unfortunately Jerry didn't get to be on.
It's a really beautiful book.
It's wonderful. Obviously, the show's called Southern Fried Geekery. I grew up in the South. I'm a Southern. I grew up out in the country. All of these old wives' tales and these old horror stories and these old superstitions and stuff. I grew up with all these stuff. I grew up hearing about Haints in the Woods, which I thought was just kind of a rural colloquialism. Cullen Bunn from North or South Carolina, I forget which one, but he grew up with that stuff. And seeing a lot of these things that I heard my grandparents talk about, stories you heard around bonfires, really, really speaks to me. So what has been happening is there is a witch who kind of created this entire world named Hester Beck. She is back. She is an extremely dangerous character. And your main character, Emmy, who is a small little blonde-haired girl, really, really lovely child, who is also a hyper-powered witch and almost a second coming of Hester Beck, but the antithesis of her. This is their giant clash. This is the culmination of everything that's happened in this book, where Emmy has friends. She's made some really, really great friends in this book, who some are human, some are Haints. There's an entire legend of these magical beings who are in the background that Hester Beck has betrayed. Emmy actually had a doppelganger early on in the book that was her sister, but she had to kill. She actually ate her and consumed her power, which inevitably consumed her. She has to overcome that darkness. In the end, not to spoil it, because I think you should go read this series, but Emmy has to give up her power to destroy. She has to give up what makes her special to destroy what's inevitably going to destroy everyone. And she has to relinquish control. And it's a brilliant story.
It's a wonderful thing.
I cried, and not just because I love this book so much, because it really is. It's nuanced. You get all of these supernatural elements. Everything is wrapped up. There are no loose ends. Everything is done. Hester Beck is gone. This element of evil that is plaguing not only Emmy, but Emmy's family and Emmy's friends. Beatrice, all of them. Everything loops up to just a gorgeous, gorgeous ending. This book will inevitably come out in hardcover. You will hear me preach on it some more, because I think everyone should go buy it. Check it out. I think there are 3 trades out right now, maybe 4. I'm not actually sure, because I have all the single issues. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed. Tyler Crook, he is a painter. He does everything in watercolors. So this is just a really, really, really gorgeous. It's not line oriented. It's color oriented, and everything moves. Everything moves in this book. I don't own a page out of it yet. I likely will. And fingers crossed. Nothing's in the bag yet, but fingers crossed we might get to do an interview with Tyler Crook before too long, because I met him with Craig at C2E2, and we've been chit-chatting a little bit ever since, and some other cool stuff has happened with Cullen Bunn in regards to some things. So lots of irons in the fire. I hope we're able to get both of those gentlemen on the show. We haven't been able to do anything like that, because I'm a technological invalid, and I don't know how Skype works, but I'm figuring that out. So
I read that book as well.
Did you? Nice.
Yeah, that last page on that is not only beautiful artist, but that artistry, but that last line is a perfect way to end the book.
It really is.
I mean, that book from issue 1 to the last page of issue 32, right?
Yes.
Is absolutely Colin Bunn is his absolute best. That entire book. I have zero complaints about any issue of that book.
I'm sad to see it end, but I'm glad that it ended where it needs to. I don't think books should go on longer than they need to just because I enjoy them. This ended exactly the way it was meant to. I loved it. I still love it. I will own the hardcover. I will continue to sing Colin Bunn's praises. I will pick up everything that I picked up most of what he's done since this came out, but this book solidified me on him. I'll pick up whatever Tyler Crook does. I'm really happy.
So it's kind of funny that book's ending this week because he also started a new book this week.
Who, Colin Bunn?
Yeah.
Colin Bunn starts like 19 books a week.
Yeah. Did you
Half
pick
of
it
the
up?
comics that come out.
It was the book that's spawning off of Six Gun.
I did see that came out. I have not picked it up yet. I still haven't read Six Gun yet. So Six Gun
I'm
came
still
out
getting
before
through
this.
I did read the free comic book day issue that they had of
Did
it.
you?
I'm fucking going.
Sorrow Rose. Something Rose.
Yeah.
I did not pick it up. I'm going to
Yeah.
pick it up and trade because that's the way I've read Six Gun.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, if any of you guys get to the LCS before I'm able to, stick that in my box for me, actually. That'd be dope. I don't know if you really
We'll
want
be there Saturday.
Yeah, we'll all be there Saturday.
Unless Craig's going tomorrow.
Sean, buddy, you read a book.
I did. Actually, I read a lot of books. That was the only one I was actually able to read our entire pile for this week. So there were several books I wanted to speak about, but I was not going to spoil it since we're recording this on a Thursday.
Right.
Normally we record on a Sunday when y'all have plenty of time. So special shout out to Saga, Venom, very good books I would love to talk about, but I'm not spoiling them for my boys here. But I'm still going to talk about a very good book. It's actually the Teen Titans special.
Okay.
This is the book that's kicking off. As far as it's the only one I'm probably going to read after the events of No Justice. This is Robin, Kid Flash, and Red Arrow. I'm not overly familiar with. It's Shadow's daughter.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking about
Kimiko. Thank you. It's what's kind of going on in their lives after this. Brief short of it is Robin, who was up there with No Justice, saw a lot of fucked up shit and doesn't think Batman's ways are working anymore. So he shows him kind of going at Black Mask, I believe, the Black Skull gangster.
Yep, Black Mask.
He gets into some stuff with him and going a little more extreme. And, Damian's always been that way, but, Batman's kept him in check. It looks like Damian, because he even mentioned it, I'm not dealing with Batman's ways, and he's also not dealing with, Dick's hand-me-downs anymore.
Right. Well, and that's because this Robin, Damian, was raised by Ra's al Ghul. He was raised to be an assassin. He's actually a little deadly badass.
Right, and the big thing of this though is that he wants a new team. He feels the Teen Titans that he was running was just, like I said, Nightwing's hand-me-down. And he's like, I need a new team that he can mold. And then he kind of discusses that at the end. When y'all see Red Arrow dealing with her mom, Shadow, going on their whole life, which I knew nothing about this character. So it was very interesting seeing the dynamic between them two.
So real quick, not to cut you off, but she is Oliver's sister. His dad was Shadow.
He be trifling?
Yeah, it's Emiko, not...
Emiko.
Yeah, I think
you checked my book, so I couldn't check.
It's Oliver's sister.
Yeah,
so
Oliver's
Arrow's
sister.
sister.
See, that's what I was
Yeah,
like I said, it may have covered in the book, but I was kind of
Shadow and Oliver's dad. Yeah.
Right. Well, there you go.
There's hard stuff. So I'm actually curious. So just because we're friends and we talk about this stuff a lot, you don't like Damian Wayne.
I do not like
You don't. So how does him in a book, how's that work for you?
Typically, I like his supporting, in Teen Titans. I'm a Teen Titans fan.
Yeah, for sure.
So even with this little asshole being the runner of the team, I'm still going to give him a try.
Right.
I've not warmed up to him. Yes, there's little moments where he does something kind of cool, but he's still a stuck-up little fuck, and I don't like that about him. Which I know that's his character, and compared to the other Robins, it was definitely a change of pace since Jason Todd era.
It's actually fun. I see this Robin being more in line with the Red Hood.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because he hates him.
He hates him probably because he sees himself in him. And I've gotten that from the brief interactions.
I was just curious. I know you don't like that character. I was just,
I don't like David.
When you talk about a book led by a character you don't like, it's interesting. But I'm glad you like it.
Indeed. And this is It's a solid book. Another jumping off point to yet another.
Right.
They're continuing the numbers. They're continuing the events, but now it's a relaunch of a new team.
Yeah.
Which also the other third member, which is kind of like it's Robin, Flash, and Speedy. We go back to the original Teen Titans.
For sure.
We got Red Arrow, Damian as Robin, and now we have Kid Flash.
Yeah.
Who is also kind of dealing with having trouble dealing with being this Kid Flash. He has a run with the Suicide Squad. Funny interactions with him and Harley, and just like they're seeing things different now. Like top of my head right now, I don't remember if Kid Flash was up there during No Justice with all the Super Space Giants that they were dealing with. Not Marvel.
I don't
DC
think
Giants.
so. I could be wrong. I don't think
Right.
so.
I know Damian was in there, and he says that changed the way he looked at things. And it's kind of like the whole theme of this is that that the reviews are changing up a lot. And this is a special going about them three. But at the end, there's a great splash page that Jerry can show if you took my book again. That shows the new team that they're forming. Robin's going for new members. So again, we're going to have to deal with what I don't like in team books of getting the team together. But to the best of my knowledge, Jerry, in my book, they're all new characters to me at least. And like I'm not the biggest DC guy. Like I didn't know one of them is Lobo's daughter. I didn't know he had a daughter.
I think she was one of the biggest pools for people being excited about this.
Some chick in purple flying. I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
And a heavyset dude, much love to the fat heroes out there, who was throwing a fireball with his face on it.
Damn.
I don't know who he is, but that's cosplayable for me.
I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen that.
And I've seen promotional imagery and stuff of this new team, but
Yeah.
I don't know any of these characters.
He's
And
out
if
of
any of
like
y'all
the-
do know, feel free to comment on our Facebook page.
He's out of like this new line of heroes. Yeah, I've seen him.
Is it Brimstone?
No, that's
It's
not.
not
That's not
Brimstone.
Brimstone.
I think it's a new character altogether. But it's the jump off point for a new Teen Titans team, and it's got me interested.
No, dude, respect. Like seriously, respect. Because when I see books with characters that I largely know I don't like, I may not pick them up based on that. So it's respect for picking up a book that features a character that you don't care about, because that means something. Like that's you willing to take chances, and that seriously, that's awesome.
And I appreciate that from you. But it's 90% because I love the fucking Teen Titans.
Hey, you ain't got to excuse it.
With
Man.
or without Damian, I'm going to read Teen Titans regardless, even with their 17 new starts they've done in the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure.
I would read it just because it's got Kimiko in it.
Okay.
And she was definitely, she was definitely caught my interest.
And she was
pretty cool
actually
right
she was actually created in that in Jeff John's Green
Jeff
Arrow run.
Lemire.
Jeff Lemire. Jesus Christ, we are nailing it with the names today.
Look, Mr. Lemire and John,
Please come on the show.
and beat Jerry within an inch of his life, and then we'll talk to you.
Yeah, and Alex Ross and Mark Waid can do it together.
Everyone.
Jeff Lemire's run on Green Arrow,
Okay.
he created that whole storyline and everything.
Yeah.
I was trying to look for the fucking names of these characters because I know I saw them.
So why don't you tell us about your...
Yeah, we'll figure it
Anyway,
out. Move on.
the book that I read this week, I'm going to keep it.
If it's not important to Sean, then it's
Yeah.
not important to you.
Is The Realm number 7. It's the second issue in this new story arc that we've started. The last one ended really fucking chaotically. Yeah. Okay.
Craig is bowing out. So he doesn't get
I'm not.
the-
I'm not
Jerry
gonna-
not being considerate of other people haven't read their books like somebody did here.
I'm not gonna go like page per page on this. I'm just gonna tell you that we see the villain that they've had reoccurring, Johnny Eldridge. He's congratulating some of his guys on a new job. He welcomes them back into his lair and runs into some new lady who we haven't seen. She's like completely red, and some fucky shit goes on with that.
Oh my, yes.
And it turns out that she's apparently going to be in charge of him now, so that's interesting. We cut back over to our group who's kind of discussing meeting back up with the characters we saw last issue, which have to do with Ben, the big destroyer guy.
Shotgun axe.
Yeah. And Rook, and another character whose name I can't recall at the moment.
I have such a comic book crush on him.
Yeah.
Like, seriously?
Jeremy Hahn actually cosplayed him for, or I guess just dressed up as him in Halloween last year.
Hey, Jeremy, call me.
But so it's essentially the group after the events of the end of the last story arc, and they're trying to like deal with the things that happened there and regroup and try to get to the new city. What?
No,
Why are you shaking?
He's looking at me and
I'm looking
saying
at
because
him.
I'm lusting over comic book
No, he
characters.
talked shit. I'm waiting until you were done to address that.
you
Finish your
you
thoughts,
done?
Jerry.
So the the group wind up in a bit of trouble. Something happens to Will.
I thought you weren't going to read it page by page.
I'm not.
You know you can't trust him.
I'm not. Something happens to Will. They introduce a new group of enemies who I can only assume are like goblins.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the group end up finding this crazy. It looks like some kind of weird, like old-fashioned, I don't know, like church or something. It looks like stone masonry.
It's kind of a
And
mix
it's got
between an
columns.
old-fashioned
Back-
cathedral and
Back
a
to the
Russian,
old other room, Craig.
and
And
a
I'm
Russian
done.
style.
And one of the characters who has discovered some new things about themselves figures out that they have the power to open this, and they just kind of sit there in awe and get ready to go into this place.
So they
And-
roll a 20.
Yep, and that's how the issue ends.
Dude,
Bring back my book.
the character designs in this are so good. Like you were saying, your main villain, like straight up an Alice Cooper looking motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like they're just so good.
Oh, yeah, they are amazing. No, but sorry, when I interrupted with Jerry's conversation that you got scared. Look at me, shake my head. You said that the other members of the team name weren't important to me, and I may be lazy, but things are important. So,
I was
Global's daughter's
joking.
name is Crush. The other characters, the flying girl name is Jin, and the heavyset dude name is Roundhouse. So fuck you, Caleb.
Fair enough. Props, respect for you for doing homework.
So anyway, Realm was really good this week. I'm looking forward to the rest of the story arc. All of the characters, they're really starting to flesh out now.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm really enjoying it. I like the aspect of magic because
Right.
we didn't really know if it was a real thing in the world or not, even though we kind of saw the Eldritch character use it somewhat.
A little bit, yeah.
So, but I mean, if you're going by D&D standards, then you're probably going to see some. But it's been a great.
And I absolutely love Rook in this book as well. All of these characters are so well done. You're mixing genres here a little bit. They're playing with character designs. They're also playing with pop culture. I mean, like you said, you've got this character in Eldritch who a little bit of Alice Cooper. One of your main characters looks a little bit like Michonne from The Walking Dead.
Right.
So, and they're not afraid of those things. They're not like, it's pop culture. This is, in some way, it's really, really good. It's also a little bit of fan service. Yeah, dude, such a dope book.
Yeah, and the art is phenomenal.
Absolutely, yeah. Jeremy Hahn's a brilliant artist. So, were there any other? I know, look, it's Thursday. We ain't had a lot of time to read books. Anybody? I know Sean has mowed through his pile because he's a beast.
I did not buy 5 books, to be fair.
Are there any any runners up? Any special things that you want to shout out?
Detective Comics was off the fucking charts this week, and the Flash War continues. It was a really good issue in that.
I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited about Shadow Roads, Colin Bunn's new book.
Yeah. Go.
Like I said earlier at the beginning when I explained why I didn't talk about the other books too, is Saga, amazing book. Venom, number 3. Remember where it left off? You find out some stuff. And
Nice.
It's good.
I'm glad you're enjoying that book.
I
And reading a Marvel.
I'm actually
read some
enjoying
Marvel.
Venom as well.
What's up?
I'm actually enjoying Venom as well.
I'm the odd man out on this one. I haven't been reading it, even though I kind of have. So I've only read 2 books out of my pile this week because they were 2 I was looking the most forward to. I knew I was going to talk about Harrow County because it's really surprising I don't have a Harrow County tattoo on my forehead at this point. But the other book that came out this week is Multiple Man number 1. It's part of a mini-series. It's written by Rosenberg, Matt Rosenberg, I think his name is, drawn by an individual named
You only
McDonald.
get to review 1 book.
Yep, I was just saying,
That's what I told him when I saw him walking in with
I
it.
was
Right.
just saying the creative team because I think that they did a good job. Tamara Bonvillain did the colors on it. It's super cool. That's all I'm going to say. The creative team deserves a shout out. They made the thing. They get a shout out.
So, what books are you guys excited about for next
Multiple
week?
Man number 1 was the
It was off the
dopeness.
hook.
Yep.
I thought you were going to yell at me, hey, we're right at Flash's death. You could have given me another minute.
Knucklehead off the hook? What year is this?
Go check those out. Like I said, it's only Thursday, so they'll still be on the shelves. Does that kind of wrap up? Nobody else have anything they need to throw out there, Jerry?
What book are you excited about for
Staring in my
next
eyes.
week?
Jerry stole my cell phone. So I am actually...
And Caleb's twitching.
Yeah, because I'm a technology addict. I actually don't know what book I'm looking forward to next week because I'm not going to be able to pick up any books next week. I'm going to be, I'm unfortunately being drugged against my will to a beach in Florida where I will be sipping
We're
adult
also
beverages
sorry for you.
and I'm taking a couple different trade paperbacks and a couple novels with me.
I
So
just think I
that's
could
gonna
cut
be-
his face off and just
go for.
So
the book I'm looking forward to
yes, Craig.
is Man
Even
of
though my
Steel
name
number
was
6,
next on the list.
and it's Bendis and whatever artist they have on it next week. I really don't care. I just want it to be over. That's why I'm looking forward to it.
You haven't made it number 5 in your list yet.
I have not read
Okay,
it.
I'm curious to see, as I spoke about last time, I'm curious to see if it redeemed itself.
My books that I'm excited about: Cosmic Ghost Rider #1 comes out July 4th,
Book singular.
and My Hero Academia Vigilantes Volume 1 comes out next week. Craig, thank you very much,
We have
Sean.
rules. You and Caleb are both ignoring them today.
Sean, what are you looking
Batman issue number 50. The
Nice.
Legend issue.
Yep.
I left that just for you.
We've been building it up for a long time. I can't wait to see how. Probably going to fall apart, my prediction. We'll see.
Speaking of falling apart weddings, go read. There was another book that had a wedding.
don't read
X-Men
that
Gold.
one.
Really?
It was. I liked it. But,
Oh, okay. Yeah?
well, guys,
Have you
is
not
there?
read the spoiler yet?
No.
Don't do it. Oh man, fucking our
Let
friend
me
Matt
match
spoiled
you.
it for me. I wanted to beat that little fucking gremlin. Into
Whoa, okay, so anyway,
Real talk. Real
this
talk.
has been Southern Fried Geekery.
Make sure to check us out. Let Caleb do his thing all he has. Let him have
this
it.
is my only.
We've had a great thing. This is his only outlet, apparently, for his emotions.
We're all falling apart.
I
Thank you
hate
for
when
listening
people
to
spoiler
the
things.
last episode.
Go forth,
ever.
let's the comics K-pop.